Good evening. Please remember that every like and comment helps YouTube distribute our movies for more people who appreciate weird pastas. If you are enjoying our work, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. This will help us meet our target of 3K subscribers by the end of January. February 18th, it started 2 months ago in the middle of the night when I woke up to the smell of a woman's perfume. At first, it was almost comforting, like someone walking home late, their scent drifting up through the winter air, but then I remembered I live on the 5th floor. 2 weeks later, the scent returned, stronger, as if the person wearing it had stopped right outside my window, even half asleep, and I knew it was the exact same perfume. I never thought I'd be the type of person to record such things, but here I am at 4:37 a.m. writing about what I've been smelling. Sleep log diary. I'm not sure what to call this. Diary feels wrong, too personal, and too positive. My mom is wrong again. This aroma is totally strange yet oddly intimate, and this morning it returned for the 3rd time. I tried replacing it, but my ex never wore perfume. I even got her some once, but it wasn't her thing. I'm not sure why, but perhaps I'm writing this to show myself that I'm not the sense back at the moment. As I write this, my window is closed. The perfume returns on March 1st. The smell was the same, but much stronger. It felt like someone was outside my window, which I should remind you faces nothing but a 50-ton drop to the pavement. I'm not sure why, and I even considered writing this down. Does acknowledging something give it power? Ever since I started this log, it feels Music 8. Nearer March 3D, when I went through the duty-free perfume area at the airport today, I considered the possibility that I could match the scent to something tangible and real, anything that would demonstrate my insanity. I must have looked like a real weirdo when I lied my way into the women's area and began sniffing every bottle I could. The salesperson continued to stare at me with suspicion, and nothing even somewhat matched. Perhaps what I'm smelling isn't supposed to be in stores, or perhaps their selection was simply poor. On March 21st, I did something I had never done before. When the aroma hit me, I opened my eyes, and it was so strong that I felt that my only choice was to wake up. It was 3:33 a.m., and no one else would be awake at that hour on a Tuesday except for me. As soon as I moved, the smell vanished. I peered around the room, but all I could see were the shadowy corners of my flat. I have to admit that I'm afraid because I can't get rid of the feeling that something was there. On May 3rd, I believed that the eerie scent of a woman's perfume would be sufficient to keep me half sleeping and slightly awake for the next few days. The fact that no unusual visitors had arrived began to feel like a minor win. For the first time, I was mistaken. The smell was different, not just different, but putrid. It smelled like sulfur in decomposition had a child, and it wasn't strong enough to wake me up, but I can still clearly recall how it coated my throat and made me gag, even in my dreams. It was like a broken pipe, no longer like roadkill left to rot in the summer heat. I don't even have many references for terrible smells. All I can remember from last night is the stink that surrounded me for a few seconds and how purposeful it felt. I'm concerned that my evaluation of the perfume may differ from this new scent. It must be true that a woman floating outside my 5th floor apartment makes less sense than an explanation of people carrying out the trash. The stench reappeared on May 10th, stronger than before. It had been 7 days, and my sleep schedule was beginning to fall apart. Every night, my anxiety increased as bedtime drew near, as if I were waiting for something to happen. It probably doesn't help that part of my routine has been reading horror for 30 minutes. I keep telling myself that I should read more sci-fi before I try to fall asleep because it's lighter and more imaginative, but I haven't found anything interesting since reading Andy Weir. Perhaps tomorrow, I'll look through some good books to see if anything catches my attention. I've noticed that I'm avoiding the log's true goal, which is to understand what is happening. The scent was awful. May 11th, I lied. I want to draw conclusions first. I was hesitant to search Reddit for answers because, as I expected, nothing similar was reported, or at least not from what I found after hours of searching. The last thing I found was a post from someone who woke up to the smell of smoke and managed to put out a kitchen fire just in time. It was a completely different thing, and I couldn't even tell if the Redditor was a man or a woman because it was impossible to determine their username. I then asked V, but she didn't have any interesting answers. I've personally heard of the phenomenon, particularly the intriguing transformation of lovely perfume into something vile. I've personally heard of the events, particularly the lovely perfume turning vile. I can't find it immediately, but it makes me think of stories people have told about demons and how they attempt to fool people by using their senses. Usually, I've heard about demons trying to pass for children. I wish V hadn't mentioned that. I caught myself posing as a child on May 12th. I kept whispering that I didn't get much sleep today, which makes no sense, but sometimes I feel like the wait is worse than the visits. My daily tasks have begun to worsen since May 21st due to my lack of sleep. It seems as though my brain is unable to concentrate on anything else. I keep trying to picture as I wait for the stink to return, this visitor, whoever or whatever it is, hasn't appeared, but I can't stop thinking about it. I've also begun to notice odd things. Shadows shifting in unexpected places and appearing to change as if something is passing by are most likely the result of visual trickery or perhaps nightmares. Do you ever feel so exhausted that you begin to doubt the veracity of some aspects of your life? My sleep deprivation is growing worse as of May 30th. It's odd to believe that a simple smell could cause me to lose sleep, but I spend most of the day with my head on TRS, and I can hardly sleep. I try to console myself by telling myself that it hasn't happened again in almost a month, but who am I kidding? I've been counting down the days, 20 to be exact, and occasionally I catch myself hoping it returns to show I'm not crazy. Focus, the reports my manager requested last week are still sitting untouched like they're making fun of me. June 17th, I've cleaned my room completely, including the furniture, junk, and shadows that could have turned into something else. It's calmer now, almost tranquil, but it doesn't matter because it will return nonetheless. I have been hearing tapping since June 20th, sometime between midnight and 3 in the morning. After so many restless nights, I'm positive I've mastered the ability to distinguish between the two. A slight sound came from the window. It wasn't loud, but it was the stillness that startled me out of my semi-consciousness. I didn't look, didn't even consider it, and my body was frozen in place, refusing to move. I simply lay there listening, realizing that this was never a dream. June 21st, the pleasant events have turned, to put it mildly, terrifying. I can't even recall why I started this diary in the first place. The scent, the tapping on my window, and the entities wandering around my bed have made me forget everything. Sometimes I wonder if it knows I'm awake. Did I mention the entities I don't remember? There are a lot of things I don't remember anymore. The stench woke me up on June 28th. It was so strong and alive that I couldn't open my eyes, but I knew it was there. Every time I wrote about it in these pages, it felt heavier and more present. God, how did I not see it before? Every word I wrote was like a brush stroke, painting it into existence. I didn't move, my eyes were still closed, and my heart was pounding so hard that I could feel it in my throat, each beat echoing in the silence. My body felt like it was pinned to the bed, not because of weight, but because of sheer terror. Then there was a low, purposeful sound, like a joint popping after being held motionless for too long. This time, it was more real than ever, and its breath was hot and damp, brushing against my face in uneven bursts. Screamed for me to move in order to scream and do something, but I was unable to do so. I had been calling it all along, and I had recorded every detail. Then, a finger that was moist and hairy dragged slowly down my cheek, causing my skin to prickle as though it were pulling away from the contact, but I was unable to flinch. I didn't open my eyes until I felt it lean closer, breathing at my ear, and that's when I heard it, not a voice, but a voice that was too deep and intrusive for me to ignore. It started now, and the words didn't fade. Instead, they continued to reverberating in the gaps between my thoughts, getting louder until I thought I might scream, but I couldn't. July 6th, the pen feels heavy in my fingers today, and every stroke is purposeful, as if something else is passing through me and over the page. You are the one reading this, aren't you? These logs were never intended for me alone. They were always meant for someone else, and I don't remember writing that we remember reading it. I'm already running out of space in this dumb notebook, and it's weird writing all this down sometimes. I wonder who these words are really for. While cleaning out my brother's flat after he vanished, I discovered this. His window was open, and the walls were covered in odd symbols, hundreds of them, drawn using the same methodical, directed technique. Strokes as his journal entries. My apartment, which is on the 7th floor, has also begun to smell like perfume. I should have burnt this diary when I had the chance. The pen feels awkward in my hand now. Each stroke is carefully directed, and I'm running out of paper.